February 1959, the frozen wilderness of Russia's Ural Mountains. 9 experienced hikers set out on a winter expedition. None of them would return alive. When rescuers finally found them weeks later, the scene was beyond comprehension. Their tent had been cut open from the inside. They had fled barefoot into temperatures of -30 degrees. Some were found in their underwear. Others had catastrophic injuries, crushed ribs, fractured skulls, as if hit by a car. One was missing her tongue and eyes, and some of their clothing was radioactive. The Soviet government blamed a compelling natural force and closed the case. But what really happened on that mountain? This is the Dyatlov Pass Incident, and it's one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries in history. What's going on, everyone? Back with another one. SiR.ReapeR here. This case is absolutely wild. 9 people dead under circumstances so bizarre that people have been trying to explain it for over 60 years. Theories range from avalanches to secret military tests to UFOs. Scientists recently claimed they solved it, but the evidence is still deeply unsettling. Let's break down what happened. January 23, 1959. 10 students and recent graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute set out for a winter hiking expedition. The leader was 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, an experienced outdoorsman and engineering student. The goal was to reach Mount Hotorten, a challenging trek through some of the most remote and dangerous terrain in the Soviet Union. The group consisted of 8 men and 2 women, all experienced hikers and skiers. One member, Yuri Yudin, had to turn back early due to illness. That decision saved his life. The other 9 continued into the mountains and were never seen alive again. The group was expected to send a telegram once they returned on February 12th. When no word came, people weren't immediately concerned. Delays were common on these expeditions, but as days turned into weeks with no contact, rescue teams were sent out. On February 26th, searchers found the Group's abandoned camp on the eastern slopes of a mountain called Kalat, Syakhl, which translates to Dead Mountain in the local Mansi language. What they found there made no sense. The tent was still standing but had been ripped open from the inside. Not opened, torn apart with knives, as if the group was desperately trying to escape something. Inside the tent, searchers found their belongings: food, warm clothes, boots, everything they needed to survive. All their supplies were left behind. Outside the tent were footprints in the snow leading down the slope toward the tree line about a mile away. Some prints showed people in socks, some showed bare feet, in temperatures of at least -30 degrees Celsius. Whatever made them leave, it was so terrifying they didn't even take time to put on shoes. The first 2 bodies were found at the edge of the forest, under a large cedar tree. Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko, both dressed only in their underwear, were found barefoot near the remains of a fire they had tried to build. Branches on the cedar tree were broken up to 15 feet high, suggesting someone had climbed up, possibly to look back at the tent or to see something. Both men died of hypothermia. Then things got stranger. 3 more bodies were found between the cedar tree and the tent. They appeared to have been trying to make it back. Igor Dyatlov, the expedition leader, was found first. Then Zinaida Kolmogorova. Then Rustam Slobodin. All 3 were more clothed than the first 2, but still inadequately dressed for the conditions. They had died of hypothermia as well. But Slobodin had a small skull fracture. Why? The initial 5 bodies gave investigators a partial picture. The group had fled the tent in terror, tried to survive in the forest, and several attempted to return to the tent, but died of exposure. Tragic, but maybe explainable. Then they found the other 4 bodies, and the case became a nightmare. It took until May to find the remaining 4 hikers. They were discovered in a ravine about 250 feet further into the forest, from the cedar tree, buried under 13 feet of snow. These bodies told a completely different and far more disturbing story. Lyudmila Dubinina, Semyon Zolotaryov, Nikolai Thibour-Brignol, and Alexander Kolovatov had died from massive internal trauma, not hypothermia. Dubinina had major chest fractures and was missing her tongue, eyes, and some facial tissue. Zolotaryov also had severe chest fractures. Thibour-Brignol had a fractured skull. The medical examiner said the force required to cause such injuries was comparable to a car crash, but there were no external wounds, no cuts, no bruises on the skin. The bones were shattered from immense pressure, but the soft tissue was intact. How is that even possible? And then there was the radiation. Tests revealed that some of the clothing worn by Dubinina and Kolevatov had high levels of radioactive contamination. Not all the clothes, just specific items. No explanation was given for this. The Soviet investigation concluded that the group died from a compelling natural force that they could not overcome. The case was officially closed. Files were sealed. No further explanation was provided. And for decades, this remained one of the Soviet Union's darkest mysteries. So what are the theories? Let's go through them. The avalanche theory has gained traction recently. In 2021, a team of scientists published research suggesting that a small slab avalanche could have hit the tent hours after the hikers cut into the slope to set up camp. This could explain why they fled. The avalanche damaged the tent and possibly injured some of them, so they ran to escape a second avalanche. The severe internal injuries on the 4 bodies could be explained by them being caught in a secondary snow collapse in the ravine. This is now the most widely accepted scientific explanation, but there are problems with this theory. If it was an avalanche, why was the tent still standing when found? Why did they cut their way out instead of just opening the entrance? Why didn't they take their boots and coats if they had time to cut the tent? And what about the radiation? The military testing theory suggests that the Soviet military was conducting secret tests in the area, possibly missiles, chemical weapons, or nuclear devices. The hikers may have witnessed something they were unsupposed to see, or were accidentally exposed to something dangerous. This could explain the radiation, the strange injuries, the pressure from officials to close the case quickly, and reports from other witnesses in the area who claimed to see strange orange spheres or lights in the sky that night. Then there's the infrasound theory. Some researchers believe that wind passing over the mountain could have created infrasound, extremely low-frequency sound waves that humans can't hear, but that can cause feelings of extreme panic, dread, and disorientation. If the entire group was simultaneously hit by infrasound, it could explain why they all fled in terror, cutting through the tent in their panic. The Mansi attack theory was investigated and dismissed. The indigenous Mansi people lived in the area, but they had no motive and no history of violence toward hikers. Plus, the medical examiner stated that the catastrophic injuries couldn't have been caused by another human. The force was too great. And then, of course, there are the paranormal theories, UFOs, Yeti, secret government experiments, government cover-ups. Honestly, when you look at all the bizarre evidence, the radiation, the impossible injuries, the reports of lights in the sky, the sudden terror that made them flee, it's not hard to see why people jump to these conclusions. Here's what we know for certain. 9 experienced hikers died under extremely unusual circumstances. They fled their tent in absolute terror, inadequately dressed, into lethal cold. Some died of hypothermia. Others suffered catastrophic internal injuries that can't be easily explained. Some of their clothing was radioactive. The Soviet government shut down the investigation quickly and sealed the files for decades. And over 60 years later, we still don't have a definitive answer that explains all the evidence. The Dyatlov Pass incident haunts people because it represents something fundamentally terrifying. The idea that experienced people can do everything right, and still something incomprehensible can happen. 9 people went into those mountains and never came home. And whatever they encountered on that frozen slope terrified them so badly that they chose to run into certain death rather than face it. So what do you think happened? Avalanche? Military testing? Something else entirely? Drop your theories in the comments. If this mystery got under your skin like it got under mine, hit that like button, subscribe for more unexplained cases, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. I'll catch you in the next one.